So, in 2018, the movie Love, Simon was released. It was considered the first mainstream teen movie about being LGBT. Love, Simon even ended up being one of the most successful teen movies in the past couple years, and despite the surprising amount of praise, a lot of LGBT people had issues with it. I mean, it's just not a very good movie, but people specifically took issue with its portrayal of LGBT people and homophobia. There's elements like how Simon is clearly appalled by another gay guy's feminine presentation while constantly reminding the audience that he's normal and just like you.
Wish Ethan wouldn't make it so easy for them.
Or when Martin, despite being a terrible person and outing Simon to the entire school, gets a small, unearned, redeeming moment during the finale.
Here, I tell you what, got a couple, let's see, one, how much is it?
It's 40.
This is perfect, okay. There you go, last one's on me.
And I think these elements come from the objective of not challenging straight audiences. They push the whole just love one another, and it doesn't actually ask people to think or change. I bring this up because during both my viewings of The Prom, I realized that it's similar to Love, Simon in a lot of ways. And it's worse. So this is mostly just my review of The Prom, but I also want to address how mainstream LGBT films might continue to miss the mark when it actually comes to representing LGBT people. Before I jump into the review, let me mention this for those who don't know. The Prom is an adaptation of a musical that eventually made it to Broadway in 2018, and though the film's script is very similar, my criticisms don't really apply to the play. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the play is perfect, but things on stage come off a lot differently than how they come off in film. There's also some key things that were changed that I'll get into later.
I am as gay as a bucket of wigs. A bucket of them!
So there's a lot of discourse about James Corden playing the role of Barry, who in the story is a very flamboyant gay man. There's so many good Letterboxd reviews just destroying him. Anyways, this whole thing caused some discussion about whether straight people should be cast as characters who are gay. I think it honestly comes down to a case-by-case basis. In this case, it's not great. James Corden isn't like some lesser-known dude. The guy does carpool karaoke with BTS. This is a straight man who is very much in the public eye. The average moviegoer knows that James Corden isn't some femme gay guy. So when he decides to do these stereotypically gay things, it just looks like a straight guy pretending to be gay. Like, I don't believe that the character on screen is detached from the actor. Aside from it being in poor taste, it really just makes the character more distracting. I can't take Barry seriously because I'm just watching James Corden embarrass himself.
Sweetheart, boo-boo, I don't know you, okay? You don't know me, but I am begging you. Let me dress you for the prom.
They really could have casted anyone else. Look, you already got Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and Andrew Reynolds. Do you really need James Corden to play the gay guy? Was Hollywood running low on queer actors? Did they really need to resort to this? And even though this is the criticism I'm hearing the most, this performance is just the tip of the iceberg when looking at the rest of the movie.
Hello, interweb.
Emma's so boring, Jesus Christ! Okay, I don't want this video to just be me comparing the movie to the musical, but I want to bring it up here because Emma actually has a character in the stage musical. One of the things I realized when I rewatched the musical is that Emma's a great character. The actress Caitlin Kinnunen does a great job and has a lot of surprisingly funny moments. And along with Emma's actress being talented, Emma's character in the musical was largely established through the tone of specific lines. And even though this movie rips off so much dialogue from the play, movie Emma comes off very different. They took a likable, witty, emotional character and turned her into such a bland person. I can't really describe anything unique about her because she's written so generic and unoriginal. Look at the delivery of these lines in the movie compared to in the musical.
Sure, I'll go ahead, do a pre-shop, okay? Will you give me a ride in your pickup truck?
Are you saying that because I'm a lesbian, I drive a pickup?
Well, do you?
Shut up.
Anybody hungry?
I'll give you a ride.
Oh, in your pickup truck?
Are you saying because I'm a lesbian I drive my pickup?
Well, do you?
Shut up.
We brought Haagen-Dazs.
That's fancy ice cream.
I know what Haagen-Dazs is. Hand it over.
We brought Haagen-Dazs. It's fancy ice cream.
I know what Haagen-Dazs is. Hand it over.
Before you lecture me or kick me to death with those crazy antelope legs of yours, or whatever you're gonna do, I know I should do something. I just can't.
Before you give me a lecture or kick me to death with those crazy antelope legs of yours or whatever it is you're gonna do, I know I should do something. I just can't.
It's just so much more interesting to watch musical Emma because her line delivery is deliberate. Movie Emma just seems like she doesn't really know what's happening at any point in the film. I'm not trying to bash Jill and Pellman, I'm sure she's a fine actress who's just given bad directions. From the director. What I'm trying to say is I blame Ryan Murphy. Either way, this was honestly such a bummer because I genuinely enjoyed watching Emma in the musical, and it sucks that none of what made her interesting was brought into the movie. This was also the same case with Alyssa. Now, Alyssa isn't a big character in either production, but in the few moments she has, she makes a much bigger impact on stage than she does on screen. Throughout the film, Alyssa and Emma's interactions feel very empty. Like, they're cute, but the audience doesn't really gain any insight into their relationship. We don't get to learn about their personalities because they don't shine through during their interactions. Just compare these two moments.
And once we walk into that gym hand in hand, it's pretty obvious there's no going back, and that's a promise.
Before I met you, I was relaxed. Not honest with myself and I was so lonely, a total wreck. Just sad and hopeless. Check, double check. I
It was just so frustrating to watch how watered down the movie characters were compared to the stage characters, especially since Emma and Alyssa are supposed to be the emotional core of the story.
Excuse me, Miss Allen. I'm Tom Hawkins. I am the principal, and I just what are you doing?
This movie's structure is genuinely awful. Look, I said I didn't want to keep comparing it to the musical, but I want to talk about what changes the movie does and doesn't make to the musical script. When you're adapting anything to another medium, changes are necessary so that the story can function. It's about making the right changes that keep the spirit of the story but are better suited for the medium of film. And though this movie makes changes, it usually makes bad ones. Like, okay, this movie is over 2 hours, and even though it's way too long, the movie still ended up cutting out bits of certain songs. Now, some of these cuts are fine. I don't think a movie musical needs to put too much emphasis on the full versions of these songs, but the songs they cut from are really odd picks. They're mainly songs that involve Emma and Alyssa. Both Dance With You and You Happened are cut, and the parts that they cut out are important character moments, and like I mentioned earlier, they really needed some character moments. Emma's solo in the second half of Dance With You is cut entirely, which is a huge emotional beat in the musical. The end of You Happened was also cut, which is when the song shifts from ensemble singers to a duet between Emma and Alyssa. And I just have to wonder why they made these cuts, especially when these cuts were made to give more screen time to Meryl Streep and Keegan-Michael Key. This side plot specifically got on my nerves because of how much time they took away from more important things. They dedicate so much time towards this random side relationship, and though the pair have 2 songs in the original musical, their relationship isn't that crucial to the plot. I don't understand why they chose to expand this relationship at the expense of the couple that's the literal core of the story. Unless, of course, they decided to drop 90% of the budget on Meryl Streep. Then you'd probably want to undermine the important characters so you can give more screen time to the Oscar winner. It'll help the prom get nominated for an Oscar, guys. Wait, are they actually trying to get nominated? God damn it. So yeah, Meryl Streep and Keegan-Michael Key's romance plot is given more attention than Emma and Alyssa's. It's funny how the LGBT movie quite literally puts the straight relationship over the gay one. Good job, guys. Representation. The movie also decides to add 2 elements that weren't in the original musical. They decide to give both Alyssa Green's mom and Barry's mom a redemption. It really makes you wonder what the writers were prioritizing when they decided to add these into an already cluttered movie. So for Alyssa's mom, there was just an added moment where she comes to the prom and shows her support. But for James Corden's mom, they added entire scenes to introduce her and give her a redemption. What was the film trying to achieve by adding these scenes? They included not 1, but 2 different redemption arcs for homophobic characters. Alyssa's mom at this point has been absolutely awful. She was the reason why this whole prom thing went down in the first place. It's clear through the song Alyssa Green that she's extremely controlling and manipulative. She was the organizer of the fake prom they made for Emma, and they still give her a scene to let the audience know that she's good now. Similar thing with James Corden's mom. The movie included a lot more backstory for Barry in general, and that's how we learned that Barry had to leave home at 16 because of his family. After all that information, we still get a scene where the mom says sorry and that she's good now. They wrote all of that in when this movie is over 2 hours long. It really pisses me off because what does it say about this movie when they prioritize redeeming homophobic side characters rather than giving enough time to its leads? It's like this movie is more focused on the supposed allies than the queer leads. I actually ended up rewatching the musical ending like 3 times to make sure it didn't originally have a redemption scene for these characters. I couldn't comprehend that the movie writers would add that unless it was in the original production. But no, they really went the extra mile to make homophobes good. Literally just terrible people who get one scene redemptions. So overall, this movie fails on so many levels, I don't really know where to start. As an adaptation, it's poorly done. They keep unnecessary scenes in and cut out scenes that would have helped the movie. The changes made when adapting the stage play to the film were ones that took away from the important parts of the story. As a movie, it's a mess. This thing is long as hell and it keeps jumping to different characters and storylines. Everyone getting some screen time meant that nobody got enough to keep the audience invested. As a film that strives for diversity and inclusivity, it lacks any self-awareness for how they're treating these issues. You know, it's really ironic. The story is about how these self-centered Broadway actors are using the events of the prom to get some positive attention. They don't actually care about these issues, they're just doing it to improve their image. And that's exactly what this movie did. These are a bunch of well-known celebrity actors who starred in this movie to show that they're progressive. You can't convince me that someone like James Corden genuinely cares about positive LGBT representation when he agreed to play the role of a feminine gay guy. These people were in this movie because Netflix probably gave them a fat check, and also because it would look good for their image. I think the most insulting thing about this movie, on top of it just being really bad, is that it's one that prides itself on being inclusive and diverse. It was marketed as the big gay movie of the year, but after watching it and analyzing it, it's clear that Hollywood is still more interested in pleasing the majority straight audience than anyone else. Wait, Emma's not even on the poster!
I'm sitting here crying in my prom dress. I'd be